Hello again! According to my plan, this movie is supposed to explain the equatorial connectivity and supposed to help you understand better the equatorial connections. But as always, my plans didn't work and I decided to change the subject of the latest lesson. And this is the reason why I decided to record something completely else. On the day of 31 May, we had a couple strong earthquakes. The strongest one was 6.2 magnitude in Mexico, but besides we had a couple unusual tremors in Europe, like two 4.5 magnitudes in France and in Czech Republic. Now this is really odd because if you look closely you will notice that both of those European quakes took place exactly at the same time. Well, there were 3 seconds of difference between those two quakes. It looks that the earthquake in Czech Republic was felt by many people, and there is a lot of testimonies which we can read. But besides the two European quakes which took place almost exactly at the same time, we had a third quake which took place as well in Czech Republic, and it was 4.3 magnitude. It took place at 11:05 UTC, so it wasn't even half hour after the first two quakes. I think that it is quite odd that such 3 uncommon quakes take place in the matter of minutes. Here you can see the locations of the epicenters. Now, those two quakes took place almost at the same time. That means at 10:37 UTC, while this one took place at 11:05 UTC. It's not hard to guess that it is probably not a coincidence that those quakes took place almost exactly at the same time. I will try to find some explanation in the space weather data on ISWA. Of course, the first monitor which I am looking at each time when I'm trying to find some earthquake factors is the HMF2 monitor from the Ionosphere tab on ISWA. However, it looks that we have a small problem with the readings from the time when the quakes took place. The problem is that they simply don't exist. As you can see here, there is a hole in the data from 8:50 UTC to 12:30 UTC. So it looks that the most important readings are gone. To be honest, most of the ionospheric monitors is missing the frames from this time frame. I don't know what happened, but the 80% of the ionosphere monitors were not working at the time. Thankfully, only the ionosphere monitors were affected by the holes in data, so we can look at the new SWFM monitors without any problems. But now the problem is that when we look at the magnetosphere monitor, we'll notice that at the time when the first two quakes took place, there is not too much going on. It looks, however, that just before the quakes we had an impact of solar particles. Here you can see the ray of elevated density, which hit us a couple minutes later. However, the impact wasn't too strong. So maybe if not the Y-cat monitor, then maybe the Z-cat will show us something helpful. And it looks that we are lucky. On the Z-cat monitor we can see that the velocity vectors in the magneto tail change their direction exactly at the time of the quakes. Look here. At the time before the quake, the vectors were pointing to the night side, but as we can see here, exactly at the time when the quakes took place, the vectors changed their direction, and now they started to point towards Earth. Such change of the direction of particles flow can be explained only by the fact that Earth probably passed through a sector boundary which was separating parts of IMF with different directions of current flow. On the ACE magnetic field readings, we can see clearly that just before the quake, the values of all three magnetic components changed. We can see the passing of the sector boundary on the Y-cat monitor. It was probably connected with the increased density of particles. Look, just after the wave hit us, the behavior of the magnetospheric field lines started to change. I think that the best readings are visible on the new magnetopulse position monitor. Before the quake, we were clearly connected with a flux tube from the magnetotail. As you can see, the field line was connected most of the time, and the connectivity was strong. But then, exactly at the time of the quakes, the flux tube was ripped off from the plasma sphere. And the connection was not re-established. Another possible factor can be seen on the new ionospheric electric potential monitor, where you can see that exactly at the time of quakes we started to have some serious ionospheric disturbances. Notice as well that while the polarity of the ionosphere is freaking out, the differential is pretty strong. What can be responsible for triggering the quakes? For the end, I would like to show you how the positive equatorial magnetic connection is affecting the weather. As I said you before, the connectivity point of the positive equatorial connection is placed mostly on the east side of the globe, like this. And it means that the bigger part of the world is passing under the flux tube opening once per day. In the case of Northern America, it is around 15 UTC when this part of the globe is passing under the positive flux tube opening. And when we look at the satellite imagery, we'll notice without any problems that at the time when USA is passing under the positive flux tube, the thickness of clouds is rapidly growing. Okay, that's enough for today. Class dismissed. Peace.